Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies both new and old with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid any lazy negativity, we are making this a drinking game.
A drinking game.
Drink.
Any negative criticism about a film is absolutely allowed, but it will be called out for. Is that the right phrasing? It will be called out for?
Yeah. Is that
Called out for,
you will be called out
this.
for it, and you will have to take a drink.
Nailing it, dude. You're nailing it. He was right before we started, folks. He was like, "I'm going to nail the intro today." This is what, Keep going.
did.
Don't stop. Don't
Yeah,
stop.
I inflected it up. No, that's it. Dave buzzed me so they know what we're talking about. Yeah, that means I have to drink.
That's the noise. When you hear that noise, Jeff is drinking this entire episode. So everyone else, pour yourself a glass, join us, and give it up for the films we love and perhaps the films we need some love. I don't know if I can back this one this week. We got some good selections.
No, this is
Good
a
movies this
really,
week, dude.
really good week.
Let's see how we go.
Yeah,
Fuck
we're gonna be talking about
1989.
We're going to be talking about a couple of films from the year 1989, which is a pretty good film year. But before we get into our films that we will be discussing, let's kick it over to John for a few shout outs.
All right, as always, gonna shout out our beer sponsor. He's still in our hearts. I still dream about his beers. Carlos Barroso. Give him a follow on Instagram at Cbarrozo Bar 2019. That's CBARROZOBAR 2019. And as always, the music you hear on this episode and every episode is provided by the artist Dasein. That's Dasein, Dasein. You can find all the music on soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist. All right.
Woo! Okay, so movie year 1989 included films such as Oliver Stone's second directing Oscar for Born on the 4th of July, starring Tom Cruise. The world found out who Daniel Day-Lewis was. Oh, he's that guy. And Fiona Shaw in My Left Foot. Steel Magnolias, The Abyss, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Parenthood, Batman. That's right, Batman. Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Tim Burton, Batman. Glory. Denzel Washington's first acting Oscar. Cinema Paradiso, a fantastic film, not in the English language. The Little Mermaid, which completed the Renaissance of Disney, or at least began the Renaissance of Disney. All Dogs Go to Heaven, Little Nemo, and somehow, out of all of these fantastic films, Driving Miss Daisy, the big film at the Oscars that year. Good play, I think. Interesting film. But the three films that we are going to be discussing are Do the Right Thing, also known as Is Spike Lee the combination of Martin Scorsese and Nostradamus? Dead Poets Society, also known as Robin Williams Learned a Lot from Eating Mushrooms. Or Roadhouse, aka What Happens When the World's Most Badass Dancer Runs a Bar in Town where knife salesmen have every person armed with fucking daggers. That is, oh my God. Every single person has a fucking knife that they pull out. Roadhouse is going to be our redemption of the week. For those of you new to the podcast, we pick a film from the film year that we're discussing, and we try to give a film another look with some fresh eyes. Now, Roadhouse is certified rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. I believe it is 39%. But we've heard such good things, and we have to shout out Family Guy for having a fantastic episode, as I'm sure Dave and John are going to give us some quotes about Roadhouse. So please stick around for our Roadhouse segment at the end of this. But we are going to start out with our segment, What You've Been Watching, before we get into our first film that we'll be discussing, which is Do the Right Thing. Who wants to go first with our What You Watching?
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, dude, hit it.
I actually, apart from what we had to watch, I caught the new movie Palm Springs.
Whoa.
The Hulu just released. Andy Samburg, Cristin, Milioti, and J.K. Simmons. Cannot speak highly enough about this as a romantic comedy. As a date night film, I don't think you'll find one better.
Whoa.
It is so well put together. It's one of the best new films of the year, in my opinion, so far.
Dave, high praise.
I mean, I know that's not saying much, but because we haven't had a lot of new films this year, because everything got postponed. But yeah, it's a fantastic film. It's similar to Groundhog Day and Russian Doll, in that there's a time loop aspect, but there's a couple of really, really good twists on the thing to the point. And the thing I love the most, I think, is that they don't spoon feed the audience. So there are things that happen at the beginning of the film that you notice, and you're like, "What's that about?" And you don't get a payoff till 45 minutes later, or 20 minutes later, and you're like, "Oh, that's why that happened." So I really cannot recommend enough. It also holds the record for the largest purchase of a film at Sundance Film Festival by 69 cents. 17,500,069 cents.
17 million at Sundance. I do feel like every year there's a new Sundance record, but like 17 million at Sundance is a lot.
It was worth it. Everyone wanted this film, I'm sure, because I loved it. Everybody that we all sat down as a group and watched it. We were glued. It's very entertaining. Those two, it's probably the best combination of like actor actress in a romantic comedy I've seen since I would say 50 First Dates and the Adam Sandler.
Holy shit!
Early stuff. Yeah.
What streaming service did you say it was on?
That's on Hulu. It's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah, it's a Hulu original.
Cool, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
They did good.
John?
I did I say I watched Silence of the Lambs last time?
Yes.
These weeks are all blending together.
Yeah,
so I think I finished that. I think I watched The Red Dragon. I know I said that, but I definitely watched Silence of the Lambs recently. I can't remember if that was before last week. Awesome. Amazing. I watched Twister.
Oh, fuck yeah.
With high hopes. So I did what you guys just did. I was like, you know what? I'm feeling the mood to watch like a fun, big, action-y movie. I've seen it on TV so many times. It was not a letdown by any means, but it didn't grab me the way it grabbed me when I was younger. Still had fun. Still had fun watching it. Was not fucking surprised at all when I saw the end credits come up. Did you guys? I'm sure you guys may have just assumed this as well. Of course, that was fucking produced by Kathleen Kennedy and Steven Spielberg. Of course it was. I didn't know, but of course it fucking was. So that happened. I watched these movies. I'm still trudging through Next Generation, and I watched a horror movie that I can't remember. Oh, I've been watching those Unsolved Mysteries too on Netflix. The reboot.
Are they good?
Fun,
You like them?
Fun stuff. Go shout out to one of our friends who listens to this. I won't say his name. Him and his lady are staying in the Berkshires right now. Episode 5 is about a UFO experience in the Berkshires, and I'm not fucking kidding. It happened like right next to where they are staying right now, like down the fucking street.
So
stay up at night.
Fucking cool.
Good luck to John's friend.
Yeah, good luck. Look out for those green lights.
Oh my God. How about you? What are you watching?
I hope they wake up and go, what did we do last night? I don't remember. Oh,
They sent me a fucking picture of their dog that keeps running out to that same fucking field.
Of course they brought a dog there.
Yeah.
Of course it's Casey, dude.
Oh my God, we spoiled the name. Wait, that's so funny. Oh my God, he's probably eating that shit up too. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
First time he's had a beard in 4 years.
It is well done. I did enjoy it. The series is fun. Anyway.
Shout out to Casey for being able to grow out his quarantine beard for the first time in 4 years. He had to keep clean shaven for his job, and now he gets a beard. Good for you, Case.
Case face, get a little
We're having a crawfish boil for you tonight. Okay.
Where are you?
I've had a pretty busy week, so I didn't watch any films, but I finished the season of Queer Eye, which, by the way, guys, is fucking awesome. All right, I don't care what you guys say. It's probably my favorite reality TV show. I did I took a quiz, and I'm Bobby, which I shouted so loud. I shouted so loudly when I found out that I was Bobby, which is awesome. Bobby is the hero of Queer Eye. Chloe and I both agree on that.
What have you learned?
No
What have you learned from this experience?
I've definitely learned that show is way more of a it's like a therapy session more so than it is anything else. Also, with a lot of money, you can really get a lot of good renovations done.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people come home and they're like, "See, you should have been living in this house the whole time." And they were like, "You just did a full gut reno. Like, come on, you just did like a." And they're like, "Look at you. You should be dressing like this." And they're like, "These sneakers are $280. Like, come on, I work at a bookstore." But anyway, I love Queer Eye. It's great. I also watched 2 episodes of Dance Moms and 1 episode of My Cat from Hell. Shout out to all those fucking. This is not a great. I did my homework though, which is fantastic.
Yeah, you know what else? You know what else is a great reality TV show? Hanging with fucking friends. Like, seriously, don't watch this crap.
No, Mike, come on, Dave, go buzz your fucking self. Also, there's
That's a lot of reality TV.
Also, reminder: there's the expletive warning for everybody, because especially when we get to Roadhouse, we're going to be talking about some expletives. Also, over 2.5 expletives per minute. Do the Right Thing, the first film that we are going to be talking about. Now, it has been 31 years. For those of you who are, everybody's probably heard of Do the Right Thing, right? It's probably Spike Lee's, I don't want to say it's his best known film, but it's like his signature film. I think it's fair. I think I would say that it's signature films. This is 1989. It is about basically a block, but really just like one tiny section, more or less one corner of a street in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, on the hottest day of the year, 1989. For your musical theater buffs, it's basically In the Heights, but in Brooklyn, and it came first. There is a Paraguay guy, there's Calor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, In the Heights is basically Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get that right.
There are vignettes of all of the characters, so even though I guess Spike Lee himself was cast as the role of Mookie, you could consider him to be the through line of the film, but for the most part, it's vignettes. It's every character has their own little storyline, and you watch the street. It is incredible. We're going to talk a lot about it, but it's extremely relevant to what's going on right now in the Black Lives Matter movement, because let's just say there is a moment where there's a disagreement with the pizzeria owner, or as he calls himself, Pizzeria, the pizzeria owner, who is played by Danny Aiello as Sal's. And that disagreement leads to the cops showing up. And let's just say it does not go well when the cops show up. There is the death in the hands of the police. I don't mind spoiling that because of how relevant it is to today. And this is 31 years ago. This is 31 years ago. It's a very, very simple misunderstanding that got out of control, turned into a fight, that turned into the cops showing up, that turned into a person dying and dragging them home. And watching that, the rest of the film is so alive with color and character and noise and music, and it's incredible that when that happens, it's just like it just hits you like a fucking ton of bricks every single time. This film is that was fantastic. On purpose. Yeah, well, and there was an incident in 1986 that I'd never heard of. For me, Rodney King was the beginning of this movement, and Rodney King was after Do the Right Thing. So this predates OJ. This predates Do the Right Thing. Like that's what I said at the beginning, where he's Nostradamus. Like. Of course, this is going to happen.
This has been happening. I mean, this has been happening.
I don't know.
This wasn't ever.
This wasn't a prediction. This was his slice of life. He was him writing from experience.
Yeah, for sure. I have so many notes. I know we're starting out kind of serious. Hopefully, we can still have fun because this is a really, really fun movie to talk about. But I'll say
it's a fun movie up until like the incident where everything goes pear shaped, and
I'm sure that's by design. Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about that is that Kim Basinger presented the Oscars. So the Oscars this year was all about Driving Miss Daisy and fucking Dead Poets, which we're going to talk about soon. Very white films, very like white people solve racism type things. And Kim Basinger was presenting the award for Best Picture. And Kim Basinger got up to the stand and unscripted, obviously, said, we've got 5 great films here. Do the Right Thing was not nominated. We've got 5 great films here, and they're great for one reason. They all tell the truth. But one film is missing from the list that deserves to be on it because, ironically, it might tell the biggest truth of all, and that is Do the Right Thing. So as she's presenting the Oscar in the 1989 year, so this is in 1990, Kim Basinger basically says, Do the Right Thing should be up here. Like, it's almost like she knew this was the film that was going to represent this year. This is the film that's going to go into the catalog of all films. And it's to me, one of the most truthful, best films I've ever seen in my life. So who wants to go first?
Absolutely. It's one of those, I don't want to like go on a rant or anything, but just to fall off of that, how often does that happen where we think we sometimes we wish the Academy Awards would award the film that we need to consider the best picture that year, and they so scarcely do. This is one of those times. It's not even nominated. It wasn't even nominated. And when you look back on those films, great films, and we're going to talk about one other film that is fantastic that was nominated, and it was a great year for movies. But to not even be nominated, fuck you. Are you fucking kidding me? That is fucking crazy. So just like I think you said this is like, his flagship film. It's like comparing Scorsese's to like Taxi Driver, like the first like monster iconic work. So I'm really excited to talk about it. Dave, how many times have you seen this movie? Is this your second or third or first or?
Second. I saw it once ages and ages ago. So it was my second watch through. I didn't really get it first time, and I think that's definitely my fault.
But I'm going to talk about the same thing, dude. Tell me.
Having gone through, like now living here and gone through what we've just all gone through, it had a much more definite impact on me.
Yeah.
Because I love this movie. Like I now like even something as simple as the interior lighting setups in the apartments and everything. Like, having lived in New York now, it's like, yeah, I've seen those apartments. I love that the lighting in that thing just accentuates every little flaw in the room, but also manages to convey like the heat of the day and the oppression of the situation, that like you feel claustrophobic in those rooms. You feel like compressed. You feel trapped.
It's a palpable, suffocating aesthetic, but it's it's full of life. It's about to burst. The color,
and then you like,
right?
But in the houses, it's dark and it's like not as vibrant as anything else. And then you go outside in the street, and the street is life.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's when you get the color. You get this wonderful, like,
it's incredible color.
Yeah, the wonderful upward shots where they've just they've managed to like not flare out the sky and capture like just all different perspectives of that New York street.
That fucking red wall behind the three guys on the corner, unbelievable.
I mean, those three guys,
so sexy.
It's like, that is one of the
amazing performances. Amazing performances in this movie. Those three dudes teach you, this is how you do small supporting actor roles. Those guys fucking steal it every time they're on screen. What were you saying, Jeff?
Wasn't their dialogue improvised as well?
Yeah, I saw that in the IMDb trivia. Yeah,
a lot of that. Right?
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's a great thing. Like all of that is improvised.
I actually want to ask you about a couple filming things that we don't have to talk about the Academy Awards, but it probably is like an excuse for the Academy Awards critics to say something. But for me, it works really effectively. But in 1 second, Spike does this thing. He's an educator, right? So he's always.
Oh yeah.
He's always letting the audience know, whether you want to or not, know that he's aware of of the education of film. Like, he's not just flailing and he's not just doing what he wants. Like, he clearly has the technique. He clearly has the education. And so, for instance, in The Five Bloods, which I think John definitely saw it. It's very heavy with the Apocalypse Now references, right? And then eventually Sierra Madre. But Apocalypse Now, it's like throwing it at your face, and then other aspects of the film, which is great. It's really, really fun. And this movie, for instance, it opens with a dance sequence with Rosie Perez. Rosie Perez is just dancing to a Public Enemy song. And I looked it up online, but it's actually a reference to Bye Bye Birdie, where the opening of the Bye Bye Birdie film has a dance. And so this is basically like a modern local Brooklyn dance with her, Rosie Perez, doing this to open this film, and you have no idea what's about to go on. Even if you listen to this podcast, you're going to watch this dance and watch the title scroll, and you're going to go, what the hell? Like, this is what a weird and interesting choice. But like,
that's exactly the reaction I had. What the hell? I was set to, first time I saw that, I was set to really not enjoy this film.
Yeah,
really?
But it's like,
and I didn't get it. I had no idea what he was going for in that point.
And then there's a play that came out in the 1920s that's sort of known in the theater world called Street Scene, which is based on a block in Brooklyn, and it's written in the 1920s, but it's basically the same. It's supposed to be like the 1800s, and it's similar gentrification. All these conversations, things that we're talking about today. They're talking about gentrification in this movie. They literally said that word. I'd never even heard that word associated with Brooklyn until
they're talking about global warming in this movie.
They're talking about global warming, and those were the three guys who are
so,
quote unquote uneducated, who had like grotesque names like Sweet Dick Willie, and he's talking about global warming. And you sit there and it's like, these people they're like Shakespearean clowns. Like, they're the most brilliant ones in the entire movie. But back to the filmmaking of this, he does two things really, really interesting that I'm curious what you guys think about that. Number one, he does a lot of handheld. So handheld, if you what that means is that when you watch it, it almost looks like the camera's moving in a way. It's not even, it's not steady. Whereas a lot of the other films at this time with maybe had more budgets or whatever, so it's a little bit more polished, a little bit more clean. Whereas when you're watching this, it does seem a little rocky, a little shaky, for instance. So there's a lot of handheld. And then the other one is a lot of breaking the fourth wall, which is very risky for a filmmaker to do, especially if you overdo it. So for this particular thing, because of the vignettes, it works so fucking well. But, the other thing I want to talk about is, but the times that it's still, the characters are larger than life, if that makes sense. So the three things: push-ins, the handhelds, the direct-to-camera, but also whenever it's still, the actors are never standing still. Look at Giancarlo Esposito. He is exploding all over the screen with so much life and so much. You would never do that in a film. Watch a TV show now, and it's like they can barely move without like fucking up the camera. So anyway, how did the filmmaking that seems... It seems to maybe like an untrained eye that he has no idea what he's doing, but that's not the case. So what did you make of that?
I think.
Well, I mean, he used so many great techniques as well. Like I was actually having a discussion with someone just before this podcast on the phone about this movie, and she referenced the double dolly shot that they do.
Oh, yeah.
Where you put the camera and the actor on a dolly.
A Spike Lee shot, dude.
Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, and like I knew it was there, but I didn't recognize it for what it was at the beginning. And she put me onto it, and it's almost like a patented thing that now that like people imitate.
Yeah, I mean all right. So Ernest R. Dickerson, his DP, they went to NYU together, and just before we begin this conversation, let's just spinning off exactly what you were saying. Spike cares about film pedagogy and film history. And he understood, I think at the time even he understood, because this was not his first film, folks, but this was the first one that he fucking nailed it, I think. And that shot was something that they have done as a signature move in all of his films and did it before. And they were talking about, even in this film, that one is always kind of a tentpole that they will remind themselves, nothing we do can be unmotivated. So if we're going to try to have a style, how the fuck do you create your own style? Well, that comes from just developing your own voice. I think he understood, whether he knew it or not. I hope it wasn't intellectual. I hope it was just them working together and realizing this is how you got to tell this story. The moving handheld stuff, it's not the floating God Steadicam that we see in a lot of moving camera techniques.
It's visceral.
Right? Right. It's visceral. It is the life of the street. It is the point of view of that street. It's kinetic. It has life.
Yeah,
you're right, Jeff.
You're essentially a resident of that street.
Yeah, you get to go on the ride with them. You get to feel the music with them. There is always music in the background. There's a rhythm to the cinematography as well as the editing, which is also very, very kinetic and has a lot of life. And you're right, dude. When you said the stillness and the actors are coming to life, I know what you mean about those up-close shots of Carlos when he's like yelling at the guy. That's a wonderful example. I also love, it's not a completely still shot, but it's definitely on a tripod, the slow pans right before the conflict in the pizzeria when you see everyone in up close and they're all looking at each other out of side eyes and it's so still, but they are taking up so much weight in the frame. It helped build this tension and all of a sudden you're uncomfortable because the camera doesn't have a life to it anymore. It's like the calm before the storm. So fuck yeah, these guys knew what the fuck they were doing. I don't know if you can say that this is the first time he showed any of those techniques, but obviously he nailed it. We're still talking about, you wanted to start this conversation with how amazing technically it is, and he made this whole fucking thing on a low budget on one block in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like, hats off just for that.
I mean, in regards to the fourth wall stuff that you were talking about, breaking the fourth wall, I feel like in this case it was a deliberate choice, especially in this one sequence where it cuts between, I think it's 4 of the characters, and they're just shouting racial slurs straight down the barrel of the camera.
Yeah.
And they're shouting them at you. He's putting you in the position of the person receiving. He's like, spend a day here in our shoes. This is what
he said. He said on that interview that I referenced last time, I said that because if anyone is following along, I watched this a couple weeks ago when he gave that AFI interview celebrating the 30th, what is it, 40th, 30th?
No, it's 30, yeah.
Yeah, 30th year. And he said, I don't like when people, he said, I personally don't like to try to have the wool pulled over my eyes when I'm watching a movie. I know I'm watching a movie and I want people to know they're watching a movie. And one of the ways I do that are certain kinds of camera moves. One of the ways I do that is finding the right time to talk to the camera. He does it in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
This monologue that you're talking about, these sections of monologues where they're just fucking screaming at each other and all the different people get to yell racial slurs, it reminded me of the legendary, amazing Ed Norton "fuck you" monologue from 25th Hour into the mirror in the bathroom.
I wrote that down.
I mean,
yeah, Spike Lee directed. Spike Lee.
And he had somebody. It was great in that interview because he had it was an AFI directorial candidate from the conservatory that was asking him, "When do you know when it's okay to talk to camera, to break that fourth wall?" And he said, of course, just like anything else, it's only when it's motivated. You're not doing it out of a masturbatory means. But if you are trying to say something and there is a creative way to cut through and just speak directly to the audience and it doesn't slow your story down, it can be extremely effective. And I think we all agree, like, how did you feel when that section was over? Were Were you emotionally affected? Did you feel like the story stopped for you at all, or were you like, oh shit, now I'm a part of this?
No, it was definitely it was tension building because it was placed at just the right point where you've seen the different dynamics that exist on the street, and now you're getting just a little glimpse of the inner monologue of each of those groups.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I felt like it was. I was getting to know
it was like this the simmering inner voice of everyone on the block, and it was coming right at your face.
That's exactly. I felt that same thing.
It was a really good tension building device, in my opinion.
Yeah, because in so many other movies, they have to write their way in and out of stuff like that. And this is basically like, this is my subtext. This is what I'm feeling right now. So rather than having to pass it away or like try to write your way in and out of it, it's just right at your fucking face. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm feeling. I just want to say these things. And if we're getting even more realistic about Spike and how well prepared he was for this film, you take someone like Danny Aiello, who was Sal, and he's, you know, probably the second biggest character of the movie after Mookie, played by Spike Lee. So he owns the pizzeria. It's an Italian-American pizzeria in the middle of primarily black, both Spanish and a little bit of Korean, Brooklyn, but primarily black Brooklyn. And he goes back and forth where it seems you could tell that he has a short fuse and he's willing to pull the race card very quickly, which obviously is not okay. But, you know, just to continue with his story. And you see all these people that just snap, and as soon as they snap, they go racist, right? So now we have this going direct to barrel. These monologues that you're talking about, racism straight to the camera, straight to the audience. Oh, whenever I get angry, I just shoot racism out, and that ends up becoming Danny Aiello's downfall in a way when he snaps at Radio Raheem, and all of a sudden all the racism comes out, and you're like, I know he's racist, but I didn't think he would be. I didn't think he would be that extreme. I didn't think it would lead to such violence. And then as soon as it was convenient for him, he did the thing where he just started using the N-word and, you know, putting them down and feeling superior, which ended up leading to the cop showing up in the death. It was a weird foreshadowing.
I'm glad you actually said that, because that was the one thing that didn't really sell for me is at the end, why does Sal snap so fast? And it was a case of, like, I'd already been told why, with the simmering monologue of everyone shouting racial slurs at the camera. So, like, it's there and it's sitting just underneath, and no matter how nice.
But Dave, I agree with you.
Playing,
I agree with you about the first time.
For me, that was a really big, like, snap.
The first time I saw it, though, I will shamefully admit this. I was younger. I saw this when we were in college, Jeff. So it was probably 10 or 14 something years ago. And I remember being a little bit. I wasn't judging it at all, but I remember thinking, God damn, you know, I just don't think I quite understood why they did that at the very end, except for intellectually, I understood what he was doing with the story. But emotionally, it still felt kind of distant from me. So let's give our fucking hats off to Spike Lee for not sacrificing anything to tell this story. Let's give it up to Universal Pictures. Again, he was just telling some stories about how he met with some other major production studios. And they said, I remember Paramount said to him, we would love to make this picture, but what do you think about Sal and Mookie giving each other a hug at the end instead? Or maybe he goes and grabs the trash can and he sets it upside down, gets up and starts giving a speech about unity. And he was like, fuck you, I'm out of here. Yeah. So the risk and the balls he took he made a movie that, just speaking for myself, I didn't understand until 30 years after he made it. You know what I mean? Like, completely understand it. Yeah. So hats off to that. Let's just give it up. He's not just an artist who was trying to say what he wanted to say. He was a young black filmmaker who was going against the grain completely, who, even though he was educated, most people did not want this movie to come out. There were critics. No. There was one critic who wrote, Spike Lee has made a movie that is the same as putting a stick of dynamite under every black person's movie theater seat. Yeah. That they're going to start riots, that they're going to this is going to elicit tons of violence around the country. And it took him that amount of time before we are all finally saying, this. Not only is this movie great critically and artistically, we're all finally, a lot of us are finally saying, this movie said something that we should have been listening to a long fucking time ago. And now I think we're all there emotionally. So it landed even harder for me this time. I was totally on board, and I was affected by it.
I was so... Like I said, I was furious at the end of this film this time around. Yeah. Like it had very little impact the first time I watched it. I was a lot younger, and again, but yeah, this time around, nope, it definitely triggered something. But I love that, like, and the thing that is really important is, like, this was definitely a film made to educate.
Yeah.
And even to John's point earlier, where the studio balked and wanted the ending changed, it's like these are sadly getting pushed out by blockbusters. Like those films that are made to educate and those films that are made to not just popcorn entertain, you walk out and forget it 5 seconds later. Don't get me wrong, they're great. I'm a big fan of them, but they're getting pushed out by these big tentpole billion-dollar blockbusters because they can quickly recoup their money. And that's why I think film festivals that hold a distribution market are so important in this day and age, because it's the only way these films are going to get seen, and we need to not stop making these films because like nothing else really is educating at the moment.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we need producers to take chances. That guy, I wish I could remember his name. This is Universal Picture who distributed this and was the ultimate production company. Spike's 40 Acres and a Mule did the hands-on production. But anyway, the guy who did this was getting death threats the whole entire time that he had greenlit this, because the year before he released Scorsese's Last Temptation of Christ. Yes. So this guy for like 2 or 3 years in a row had everyone trying to fucking kill him. And he was saying, no, this is the fucking point. So this is not just getting on our high horse of artists. We need everyone who's involved in this industry, audience members as well, responsible audiences. We need to go see movies like this. We need to be renting movies like this. We need to let them know that this is how we're going to play a role in this shit. We want to see more of this stuff. And Dave, I know what you mean about how this is important and I learned something, but this is also super entertaining, wasn't it? I laughed a lot in this movie.
So many complex
The first half of this movie is hilarious, dude.
Oh my gosh. Wait, before I get to the funny stuff.
Did you have a favorite character?
Oh yeah. Wait. Let's talk about the cast really quick while you think about this. Let's talk about the cast. I wrote down the cast.
Let's talk about the performances.
We've got Samuel L. Jackson. We've got John Turturro. We've got Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee. We've got Danny Aiello. We've got Spike. We've got Rosie Perez. We've got Giancarlo Esposito, you may know from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. And then the guy who plays Smiley. I had never seen him before, but Smiley, he was awesome. He's a big theater actor.
Yep.
And Martin Lawrence, film debut of Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous fucking cast. And I think the last serious thing I'll say too is there's a Korean source. There's it's not just black versus white. So there's like a Korean grocery store across the street as well. And after Sal's sort of gets demolished after the police incident and yada yada yada, they look to try to vandalize the street, which I think this is really fucking relevant right now too, especially for people on the right that are trying to pretend like protesting and rioting are the same thing. And this crowd starts to go after the Korean restaurant. The Korean guy's like, no, I'm like you. I'm getting people are prejudiced against me too. Like, please, I'm not a part of this. I promise you. Like, and watch that tension of whether or not this herd is going to demolish this Korean man's grocery store too. That tension is like one of the most meaningful pieces of tension I've seen in film ever. And then when they ultimately decide what they decide, it was like, I was like holding my breath. I didn't even realize that I was holding my breath. It is so fucking good. I feel like I'm not getting buzzed enough, so I feel like we should.
That's
my
totally
favorite.
Fine.
Let's all take a fucking buzz for not watching this movie more until this fucking year. How about that? Let's all buzz this. Come on, yeah.
And let's buzz all of our friends of like the white fragility market who weren't including this in the films of what to watch. Like, this film was 30 years ago. Like, we should be watching this and going, I cannot believe this was 30 years ago. It really feels like it was made yesterday. It really
This is a once-a-year film. We should be the buzz again. We should be watching this more.
I think that was but that's one of the things that made me so angry. I think when I watched it, because it was like it's 31 years later and we're still in the same fucking place.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the first thought. That was the first thought I had, and I was like, oh my god.
Spike Lee must be pulling his fucking hair out. Imagine how he and any person of color must feel right now. They're literally ahead of the time. They made something like this. I can't imagine
how they feel.
And we fucking needed a video murder in 2019 to make us think, you know what? I finally understand the end of that movie that was made in 1989.
Which really isn't even the first video murder we've seen. We've all seen other video murders. We've all seen Eric Gardner or anybody else. Like, God.
Well, it tackles that complexity, that invisible thing that you're still hearing it playing out on the right now, which is that association with the looting and the violence and everything, that there is, for some reason, it seems, for lack of, pardon the crude words, black and white, when do we jump to violence? And I feel like this movie tackles it hits the bullseye of how there is no black and white issue there. It is perfectly gray because it is always on the fucking table for people who are put in that position. It is never an option to not have it on the table. They can't. What would have fucking happened at the end of this movie if Mookie would have tried to just rise above it and walk away from this? You know what would have happened? The same fucking thing would have happened next week on the next hot day. So I don't know, you guys. I was very ashamed of myself when I was watching this again, because it could not have been clearer to me that I respected this movie, but I don't know if I got this movie until this year, the way it landed for me. And I'm glad you're saying you kind of feel the same way.
I feel like we should definitely recommend that everyone give this movie a watch. And this may actually be the first segment we've done on this show where a buzzer didn't go off specifically.
Wait, I'll give you a buzz. My favorite line in the movie is when Spike Lee walks out and Jehovah's Witnesses show up at his door, and he just looks at him and goes, "Oh, hell no," and he just walks away. So we can buzz.
That's not a buzz. That's perfectly acceptable.
And those church ladies were like, fuck you.
I will tell you though, like, I'm sorry, but Sal's Pizza looks fucking horrible.
Yeah, Sal's Pizza looks bad. You're right.
It doesn't look good. Those people deserve better than that fucking shitty pizza.
That's right. This movie was made 31 years ago, and the only thing we can find wrong with it is one prop.
Would you eat there if you saw John Turturro and his brother getting in a fight in the back room of the pizza place on the hottest day of the year? If you were there and you just heard two dudes just like fighting for fun in the back, would you walk out? I think I would. I think I would have joined the boycott.
Real fast.
Dude, I walked into a McDonald's the other day and no one was wearing face masks, and I walked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fucking wear your fucking mask, people.
No, it wasn't. It was the people in the kitchen.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I was out of there.
Dude.
I was like, no.
Oh my God! I wonder. Anyway, I wonder. I don't want to leave this without asking, because we almost asked it earlier. What are your favorite performances? You have a favorite character, favorite performance? This is some amazing acting that's happening in a very stylized piece. There is some amazing acting that's happening around this. Who stuck out to you?
I really dug the mayor.
Oh my God, dude, me too.
Davis.
He's my favorite.
Yeah,
he was my favorite role for sure.
Second choice. It's so, you see this in film all the time. The first choice was oh fuck, I knew it was gonna escape me. The voice of Darth Vader.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones
is the first choice. Yeah, but the mayor is married to Ruby Dee in real life. So that worked out really well for Ozzy. But Ozzy was fucking awesome.
That's my favorite character as well. Everyone blew me away with performance-wise. I'm not going to say he was like the best actor. I think everyone was great, but that character really stabbed me in the heart. I was very touched.
I like Giancarlo Esposito as busting up. The way he does
bugging out.
Sorry. The way he does the Jordan sequence which also came up in the Last Dance documentary, when his Jordans get smudged. It's like it is a vignette that is caricatured in the most perfect way. Their body movements when he's freaking out on the white guy that like bought the brownstone next door but smudged his sneaker. And it's like, you bought a brownstone, just buy him a new pair of sneakers. You just smudged his sneakers. And oh my God, it was so fucking funny. Yeah, Giancarlo for me. I didn't recognize him at first too.
Everyone was great. John Turturro was really fantastic. Spike did a pretty good job. Spike acts in a lot of his early movies. I like him as Mookie. He didn't bother me at all.
Same.
I just want to give one quick shout out to my brother. Reminded me of this. Hey Arnold does an episode that happens on the hottest day of the year on their block, and it ends with them taking over the ice cream guy's place. So total shout out.
Hey Arnold, Brandon, shout out.
They knew what was up. Great movie. Please go watch this movie, folks. Rent this movie. It's not available to stream anymore, but it's worth renting.
It is worth the rental.
Do yourself a favor.
We had to.
Sit down and watch it and enjoy yourself.
All right, we're going to be right back with A Little Dead Poets Society starring the one and only legend, Robin Williams. See you in a second. And we're back.
We're back.
That was so much fun.
John's almost back.
So much fun talking about Do the Right Thing. By the way, guys, I got an update. My dad, Gary O, said he really liked the last two pods. There were fewer F-bombs and a lot of good analysis.
Fuck, really?
Past 2 weeks. So Gary O, glowing review. Yeah. Fuck yeah. No, seriously, no, we did good. So we're off to a good start so far this episode. We have Roadhouse. We have Roadhouse coming up. So
yeah, we're gonna say a couple F-bombs in that, Gary. You might just want to skip it, brother. This is gonna be pretty bad.
Yeah, but Dead Poets we'll talk about. So we're talking now about Dead Poets. Now, reminder, at the end of the segment, Dave is going to use his random year generator to pick a random year of which we are going to be discussing films in our next week's podcast. So stick around for the end of this segment for that. So this film, Dead Poets Society, won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. It did beat Spike Lee, whatever. So that was the one film. Robin Williams did not win, although his role was actually smaller than you may remember.
Yeah.
He's not really the lead. Robert Sean Leonard's probably the lead of the film. But yeah, Robin lost to Daniel Day-Lewis for My Left Foot. Anyway, forget about the Oscars. We're talking about a Peter Weir directed film. Fantastic film. Not a single black person in this movie. Dead Poets Society. Who wants to go first when we talk about this?
Well, I can't follow that. John can go first.
I could not. Well, you could. I could not help but think about that when I was watching. I was like, "Wow, we could."
After I watched Do the Right Thing and then this, I was like,
opposite.
"Whoa!"
All right, so Dead Poets Society. Jeff, do you want to set it up a little bit about what it's about and stuff, or I can do it if you want me to?
Yeah.
So
you go ahead. You can do it this time.
So it's about a prep school, like a very nice boarding school prep school that is called, I can't remember what it's called. It's
Exeter.
Exactly what you think it is.
Helton.
No, Winchester.
Helton.
Winchester, does that sound right? Anyway, the guy who wrote this went to one. It's based on his experience at a boarding school, prep school somewhere in Tennessee. And it's the upper crust of fucking white society. It's all boys. It is all about honor and code and discipline. And it's period piece set in like, what do you think this is set in?
50s.
60s? 50s? Yeah. So, it's all about higher learning, basically, at a young age and learning about the discipline of that. And Robin Williams comes into these kids' lives and shakes it up by teaching them how you really are supposed to approach life using, I mean, for lack of a better word, an artist's perspective. He uses the word poet, but it's basically how to squeeze the marrow out of life by trying to find meaning and not just living based on memorization of these higher concepts, but actually being affected by what you're learning and having life affect you. So, yeah, this is like the exact fucking opposite. Spoiler alert for anyone who has never seen. Spoiler alert for anyone who has never seen this movie. I have to say it out loud. Somebody gets killed at the end of Do the Right Thing for not doing the wrong thing. For not doing the wrong thing, and bad circumstances present themselves, and there is a cop killing of what is an innocent black person on the street in Bedford. And then a white guy at this boarding school kills himself at the end of this movie because he can't be in a play. I mean, it's just like, I could not stop. It's a great movie. I'm going to praise it for the rest of it, but I could not stop laughing at the fact.
I kind of forgot about
is
it.
there
Come on, there's a little bit more
more
than
white
that.
privilege than suicide over not being in a fucking
All right.
play?
Well, okay.
I'm not even
You're
gonna buzz you for
not
that.
wrong.
Oh
But
my
I think you should
God,
get a
dude.
buzz for that. Okay, hold on. So I don't know why Exeter came to me. It's probably because there is an Exeter Academy. So it's called Welton Academy, which is supposed to be in Vermont.
Welton.
They filmed in Delaware. It's all fictional. Peter Weir, the director, went to a similar all-boys school. They say in the intro, basically, when like I don't even know what you call it. It's probably like a priest who's had pedophile scandals since then. They announced to they announced like,
Yeah, no, that's the.
Yeah.
come on, that guy was creepy as fuck.
That was
okay,
the dark place buzzer.
Sorry, Dad. So they announced to during orientation, basically. This is a boarding school where they stay overnight. So they announced at orientation that 75% of their graduates go to Ivy League. So this is basically the perpetuation of white supremacy. That's what it is 30 years later. I don't know if that's what they intended it to be at the time. But that's what it is. You cannot tell me that's not what it is,
dude. No, that's what
These are the kind of schools. No, I teach
feel
them.
like didn't they also mention it leads to like the early formation of fraternities as well?
I mean, sure. Like, I wonder. Definitely, graduates of the school ended up in the Skull and Bones at Yale.
I mean, I don't want to make a comparison between fraternities and white supremacy. I'm not that guy, but
right. Well, should we talk?
my God,
should we
dude,
talk?
that is so
should we
funny.
talk
No,
now?
let's go there.
No, hold on a second. I'll remember that thought that I just had. So anyway, so it's about parental pressures, right? So obviously, this is very different their pressures when they're at a school. In 2020 terms, I'm just going to guess with a boarding school, this school is somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 a year to go to per kid, at least in 2020.
Easily.
Probably $40,000 a year for high school, right? So that's not even including when they get into Ivy League school and they don't have financial aid. So obviously these are people who are very well off. Now, this particular kid, Robert Sharp Leonard, who's fucking awesome in this movie, by the way, he is roomed with Ethan Hawke, who is the shy kid.
So good.
And they're really fantastic, but it's very fraternal, a lot of friends hanging out. And they have a lot of like study hall, and they have a lot of, it's very rigid, their learning, because it's proven, right? It's tried and true, and it's proven to get them into upper graduate schools or whatever, or not upper graduate schools, but elite schools, which is the whole point, yada, 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 the perpetuation of whatever. But then Robin Williams comes in, who is a former graduate of this institution, who has gone off and now he's an English teacher. There's a lot of yada yada going on with Robin Williams. And they do something really clever that you could say, but I had a couple other ideas of what this is. But Robin Williams, you never see him alone, with the exception of about 10 seconds before Robert Sean Leonard goes in to say his dad is giving him trouble with the play. And then about 5 seconds after he finds out about the death. But you never see Robin Williams alone, which is really interesting for a quote unquote leading character. In 2020, they would definitely put him in the supporting category. It's not about the Oscars. Anyway, so he tells them about when they were younger, like poetry. The whole point of poetry is so that you can Sorry. The
Jeff
whole
just
point
had
of
an
poetry.
Jeff just felt the poetry. He just felt it.
So poetry is to remind people why
Can you feel that
live.
poetry, Jeff?
Oh my god. Anyway, so the kids find out that he was in this club when he was in school called the Dead Poets Society, and the kids are so excited, they're so eager. Now these are the quote unquote cool kids, by the way. Right? These are the kids who would be wearing the Letterman jacket if they had enough kids in their school to field a sport. There's probably like 30 kids per class. If they could, they would have Letterman jackets if they were the cool kids. And they're asking Robin Williams, like, what is the Dead Poets Society? Oh my god, what's the Dead Poets Society? And he goes, he basically says like it's a gay sex club, right? Did you guys get that vibe from it? Come on.
No. Buzz.
Oh my god, come on.
He's buzzed.
Come on. Sorry, Dad. We were off to such a good start.
Dude.
Okay, no. Where they go to a cave.
Hey!
They go to a cave next
son.
to the lake, and I think he said something like where like the pulse of poetry like drips through their soul and like it bleeds through their body, and they just become alive with poetry and stuff. And it's just very, I love poetry. By the way, poetry is fucking great. I like musicals. I'm just saying, it sounds a little like what the Romans did in the baths. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think it's supposed to sound sexual, though, right? It created that intimacy.
Yeah.
Like those kids, there was intimacy in that fucking Indian cave.
Yes.
they were training to be men.
No, I mean, like okay, so I think this movie is beautiful because it's a perfect bridge between like that 80s kind of thing that the 80s movies all did with montages and like heavy needle drops with music and stuff like that. This movie kind of, my brother and I were talking about this, and I'm going to give him props to this. He called it out. It feels like a 90s movie, doesn't it? I don't know if because Peter Weir was involved, but all these performances, you know from the get-go what this movie is going to be about. There is a loose cannon teacher who has come in to really shake things up. He might get fired at the end of this. We're not sure what's going to happen. Maybe you don't see the suicide coming, but you know that generally speaking, he's going to go against the grain and get these kids to go against the grain when you think they're being trained to be the next CEOs of the world. So you know what that is from the get-go, and everyone is playing into those archetypes. But the performances and the direction is so sincere that you don't mind at all. You're totally on board. At least I was. I don't know if you guys felt that way, if it got too cheesy for you, but like There was so much sincerity that I was totally on board. Did you guys think that what were you thinking about after, I guess first of all, which movie did you watch first? I'm curious. Do the Right Thing or this?
I watched Do the Right Thing first.
Okay, so how did it influence the way you were watching this? When you saw these young people, I'm not comparing them. I'm not saying Peter Weir and everyone who was involved with this movie made their own movie. They were not thinking about Do the Right Thing. They were thinking about telling this story. So I'm not saying we should compare them, but I couldn't help but be influenced by having seen Do the Right Thing when I was watching this. What did it make you feel when you were watching these young, very rich white kids surrounded by people who were in the exact same place that they were, getting to learn about this higher learning stuff? It kept making me think about, you have to be carefully taught. Roger Hammerstein lyric
Specific, yeah.
teaching about racism and about prejudice. If you have to be carefully taught about how to hate, then I think this movie shows you that you also have to be taught how to find beauty in life and how to seek higher learning and how to kind of lean into that kind of philosophy. So I couldn't help but think about in Do the Right Thing, the opportunities that they did not even have, that these kids were just presented with. I don't know. Did you feel any cross emotions? Did it bother you at all? Or
I didn't.
Were you able to just totally
I didn't
watch
get that. I was able to totally separate it. I mean, I was actually I found Robin Williams' performance beautifully subdued in this one. He was, because normally he's a loose cannon and everyone's waiting for him to just go off. But even when he obviously improvised, it was just kept down. I did have one joke that I wrote right at the beginning of this when it we got to the first shot, and I was like, "Dead Poet Society" or "Low Budget Hogwarts." It turns out the joke was on me, because the cinematographer from this film was John Seale, who filmed The English Patient, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and Mad Max Fury Road.
What?
Yep.
Right?
John Seale's a boss, dude.
His establishing shots were beautiful. Like, this whole film,
that one where where that guy rode the bike down through the birds.
Yeah,
where he rode down the hill. How the fuck did they get that shot with all those geese?
Yeah, that was probably a throw in. It was like, hey, there's geese there. Let's
get that kid on that bike.
Get the kid on the bike. I mean, even if and I think I picked this one up from the IMDb trivia, but the film with Ethan Hawke, the shot with Ethan Hawke in the snow was supposed to be indoors, and they moved it outside at the last minute because Peter Weir thought it would look better out there, and he had one take to do it because it was actually stopping snowing.
Right. So it looked beautiful. Where he runs out onto the lake.
Yeah.
So gorgeous.
That's cool.
So I was able to see this as two completely different movies. Like I came in cold because I actually did Do the Right Thing, then Roadhouse, then this. So there was a buffer. There, I had a little palate cleanser in between there that kind of made me hope for anything else.
Tell us, Jeff. What are you talking about?
I did it. I was able to separate as well, with the exception of the scene where they basically invented hip hop. I don't know if you remember that scene. They're banging on a drum and saying verse and rhythm. Yeah, good job, guys. You really sound like Public Enemy for sure. I wrote down that a lot of these scenes really felt like theater. A lot of them reminded me of some Biff and Happy scenes from Death of a Salesman. John, you know a little bit about that for sure. Especially Robert Sean Lennon and Ethan Hawke. Now, a lot of what they're talking about are daddy issues. Ethan Hawke's parents forget what they got him for his birthday last year, and Robert Sean Leonard's dad, who's also Kirkwood Smith from That 70s Show. You may remind him as Foreman's dad in That 70s Show. But yeah, they really felt like these condensed theater scenes. They're really full of life, really full of passion. So it was really, really well done. There was only one scene for me that really felt like it was staged poorly. A lot of line crossing, a lot of melodrama, and that's the scene where he chases Knox, who's like the romantic of the group, chases the girl out into the outside, basically. Like, she sees him and then she runs outside and he chases after her, and they're constantly crossing and turning, and it was very melodramatic, and that's the only scene that didn't land for me. Almost every other scene, even the group scenes, were just done really, really well. They had anybody who knows plays is The History Boys, which was also made into a film. It had a little bit of that in there too. Robin Williams just sort of becomes this looming character because you don't see him very often, where you just sort of know his influence, where he's basically just encouraging them to enjoy life. It's very simplistic, and I appreciated that in its nature. And also, by the way, Midsummer Night's Dream, the key to a good Midsummer Night's Dream performance, you can make your hands look as weird as possible. You can do the speech however you want. Hire a band. Really, the fact that they had that like orchestra playing the same 4 chords over and over again on like a lute or whatever really like helped keep that thing moving for sure. The audience seemed really
took
happy.
it up a notch.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
No, I'm glad you said that. I like what you said about
slide.
I like what you said about how Robin Williams is like this looming performance, because at that age, you guys, when you're coming of age, and I don't want to take away anything from it. Like, I loved this a lot. It made me think of The Fellowship that like J.R. Tolkien talks about. If anyone saw the movie Tolkien, or if you're into that movie Lord of the Rings that we've talked about a few times on this podcast, he grew up in a very similar situation, and he got tons and tons of influence out of his fellowship that he had with these boys at those higher kind of schools that he went to, wherever the fuck that was outside of London. And Robin Williams it's a directorial decision and a performance. He understood. Apparently, Liam Neeson was signed on to play this role, by the way, until Peter Weir got hired.
So was Dustin Hoffman at some point.
Crazy. Dustin, I could totally see. I'm not saying that I wouldn't like Liam, but anyway, I like what Robin chose to do, and I don't know if it was a confluence of them saying, yeah, I feel the same way, or if it was a directorial decision. He presents, for the first time in these young boys' lives, that pebble in your shoe of a contradiction to what you thought you were supposed to do. So I feel like one thing that this movie does structurally that's really interesting is that you think when it begins that you're going to follow Ethan Hawke the whole time. Yeah, that he is going to be your surrogate, that you're going to be the kid who's nervous and anxious. And he still is a protagonist, but he's not the protagonist. He's not the only one that you're following. So I feel like what they did so well, which is why it is definitely in that masterpiece area of filmmaking, they make you recognize that Robin Williams, Ethan Hawke, and Robert Sean Leonard are all going through something that is changing their lives enormously. And Robin Williams' pebble in the shoe kind of presence for these boys is just enough. He's not too overbearing. They only have him one class a day. It's not like he sees them all the time. It's not like he's seeing them for hours and hours after school as a football coach, the way some great sports movies are. He has them 1 hour a day, and then he teaches them about poetry, and they leave and they go talk about it. Yeah. They do such a good job of showing you that one alteration in your mindset can lead to disaster and triumph. Yeah. And I feel like this movie, again, it just does it so sincerely that you cannot help but walk away, even in the midst of the tragedy of the suicide. You cannot help but end this movie without thinking almost everyone, except for Robert Sean Leonard's character, is for the better. Because they have been introduced to that kind of variation in their lives. And that is subtle. In lesser hands, that could have been beaten over your fucking head. And I feel like Peter Weir did such a good job with that. Shout out to Australia.
Yeah.
For Peter Weir. That one's for you, Dave.
And John Seal as well. Also Australian.
John fucking Seal. Oh, he's Australian?
Yeah.
God damn it, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think my favorite passage that I took out of it was when he was like, we must constantly look at things from a different way. And I'm like,
stand on your fucking desk.
Everybody just fucking do this. It's like, and it applies to so many things. It applies to interactions. It applies to life in general. It applies to, like, in my case, when I'm working on a visual effects problem or an editing problem or whatever, or like trying how to set up a shot, and you just sort of take yourself out and look at it from a different perspective. It's the best life advice you will get from anything. It's like, learn to look at it from a different perspective, because your initial thought might not be the right one. Yeah,
dude. And Robin Williams, obviously, I think everyone on planet Earth is, super sad about what happened to him. Movie, it warmed my heart so much.
It was good to see him again. Just
remembering that man got to play so many roles that are about what life is about. He got to teach us as Hook, as Patch Adams, as John Keating, so many beautiful lessons, and you can tell that guy actually lived his life that way. So just as an actor, as a fan of him and his work, it was so beautiful getting to watch this week. It touched me a lot. I don't know. How about you guys?
On the night Robin Williams died, I went to the Dead Poets Bar in the Upper West Side with some friends of ours, Richard Milioti, Chris Kiley, Reed. Yeah, and it was really packed. And then the Disney thing, where Disney showed a picture of the genie and said, Genie, you're free. It was like everybody was sharing it at the bar and stuff. But
me, I think I texted out the "Thank you for believing" from Hook.
Oh yeah.
Crushed it, dude.
Yeah.
Wonderful movie. Sure. Go watch this fucking movie, dude.
I will introduce.
Let's keep talking.
I will introduce one thing. It's a new segment I'm trying out this week. It's called "How Did the Studio Almost Fuck This Up?"
Oh, great! This is a surprise.
It's no. Basically, now I'm starting to look for issues like instances of studio interference, and Touchstone Pictures, apparently early notes on the script suggested making the boys' passion dancing rather than poetry, as well as a new title called Sultans of Swing, focusing on the character of Mr. Keating rather than the boys themselves. And they literally just threw that out. Like, they were like, no, fuck off over there. Yeah. Like, could you imagine?
Tom Schulman submits this script and they were like, we love it, but we think it should be about dancing, not poetry.
Wait. What if they danced?
This is 1989.
Yeah.
Why isn't he a jazz dance teacher? I don't
Yeah,
You know what?
well, I mean, Dirty Dancing had just dropped a couple of years before and was a smash hit, so I guess it was all the rage. I don't know,
Dissolve the
Oh my
patriarchy.
God.
but like, yeah, I'm gonna try. Like, I'm gonna try and find these and like the actual notes the studio gave on some of these if I can on a weekly basis. We won't always, not necessarily always find them, but yeah, that was how did the studio almost fuck up that one?
Yeah, that would have done it. Salsa. Imagine this is about salsa.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What's your? Did you guys have a? Did you have a standout performance from the young guys? Did you have a standout scene? Is there something that has kind of been resonating with you? Quotes or anything?
I think I actually. I'm not hard on Ethan Hawke at all. Ethan Hawke's awesome. He probably could have an Oscar for a number of things, including Boyhood. I thought he was great in Boyhood. But this is a really, really great Ethan Hawke performance. I mean, as subtle and naturalistic as the Before series, I guess you could say. But he really didn't push. He didn't try to fight for his spot in the limelight or anything. But he also didn't sulk. Like, he did a really, really nice, very three-dimensional introvert, and that's really difficult to do, especially in a movie where you're surrounded by extroverts. Like, he did a really, really, really nice job. Ethan Hawke really stood out. But Robert Sean Leonard, for sure, is basically the lead of the film. Amazing. What about you, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, like, there wasn't a bad performance in this film. I feel like Peter Weir pulled everything he needed to out of every single person that was on camera.
Right, that's true. Meeks was so funny.
Yeah, I did like. It was. I can't remember where I read it, but they actually got the boys to room together before the shoot.
Yeah.
To generate the
Yes.
camaraderie. But then
Ethan
when
Hawke has talked about that.
Yeah, and when he commits suicide, that guy was gone from the set.
Oh my god.
Wow,
because,
they removed
because,
Robert
yeah,
Sean
because
Leonard.
they filmed they shot in chronological order. So when
Yeah, I
they
read
got
that,
they got to the suicide scene, he was offset. He was gone.
Man.
So they had an actual loss.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
John, what about you?
And I agree with you. I think, Jeff, I'm glad you pointed that out, because that there are a couple scenes in here that feel a little over directed, and they're just not as good as the rest of it. The way
That's true. No, that's the pod. That's the pod, but it's true.
There are a few scenes when the guys are talking to Knox about the girl that feel a little like maybe they talked about girls like that in the 1950s. Maybe that's how they talked about the idea of flirting and stuff. There was one before he called her that got me a little bit. When he sees her outside, I felt a little bit like, oh, this is kind of weird and feels a little performed. I think it's cliche, but it's still probably the moment that hit me the hardest when Ethan Hawke is spouting his poetry, when Robin, the moving camera around them when they're spinning with him, and he's like, what do you think? He's a cold tooth madman, the blanket that can't cover your feet, just the look on Robin's face when he finally cracks that kid who was too scared to do anything, and how casually before the scene before that, how casually he's like, don't mind him, he's just scared of everything. He's scared of everything, and he doesn't think he's worth anything.
Did you notice in that scene when he was struggling, the camera was spinning around him, but the second he found his footing, the camera stopped and they spun?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that scene is a fucking masterclass in how to show character. Because again, like you're right, playing an introvert. Like, how do you show who an introvert is without playing into like, oh, this person doesn't talk very much and they're still. How kinetic did they make the camera movement to show you exactly what you needed to feel? And then same thing, it froze on him, and then it froze on Robin when he was getting to watch it. I thought it was just
they did the same
powerful.
thing. They did the same thing with the lecturers as well. Some of all the teachers were in long, drawn out one shots where they're just walking up and down the classroom, and then Robin turns up and it's cut. Like, it was more dynamic.
Well, how can you keep up with him?
Yeah.
They say, Robin, we miss you. You left frame. We got to get you a pickup. What do you think? I do have one suggestion. The endings of these movies are always sort of up in the air, which I guess is good for them because it kind of leaves you kind of thinking and wanting more. But for those of you who haven't seen this on TV a million times when you grow up, at the end of the film, Robin Williams goes to get his stuff because he's leaving. And the kids all, try to stand up on their desks to show their solidarity. Wouldn't it be more powerful if they all started like reciting poetry or something? Maybe that would be too cluttered, but they just stood on their desks and that was it, which is nice. But like for me in 2020, I'm kind of like, yeah, but that didn't accomplish anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, except for saying like, thank you. But Robin Williams sort of already knew that. Like, I wish it proved
that was
that
all
he
they had
taught them
left.
something. I know, but I wish they proved that he taught them something.
He did.
Instead, they basically just said thank you.
Oh, I think he did. I think he did.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
he stood on. They stood on their
I was
desk.
going to mention. I was going to say maybe
the other teacher is screaming at them to sit down, and they're like, "No, fuck you! I'm standing on my desk." They're thinking
they
for
have seen.
thinking for
they
themselves.
look at the world differently. Yeah, they look at the world differently now, and I love the last line. It's just "Thank you, boys." Cut to black.
Great.
It's like that's all anyone got out of this. Who knows what happens to everybody's lives after this is
All right.
over? A teacher got through. And then those kids' lives are changed. They're probably going to get expelled for standing on their desks. But
Yep.
who knows?
Wow. Right. Okay, cool. Okay, good. Glad we talked about that. But Dead Poets is great. We got to move on because we need to save some time for
Yes, we do.
Roadhouse. So,
Roadhouse.
Dave, let's do the generation here. Is that not it? No.
Yeah.
Let's generate our
is
new
that the
film year
verb?
for next week.
Bring up our random number
John
generator.
Keating.
Ma'am.
Okay, so
I really hope we have
the-
some good films to watch for next year. And they
Yeah.
better be on streaming.
next year. The next year we're gonna do dramatic. I like dramatic. 1973.
Oh, shit.
Oh my God. This year.
I'm
guys,
excited. Oh, I'm so
Before you do
excited.
anything-
from the 70s, dude. I'm excited. We're going to be right back. We can't wait. We're going to fucking talk about all the movies of 1973. We're going to take like 15 minutes and then we'll get back to you in like 30 seconds.
and we're back.
We're back.
Ah!
Oh my gosh. So our random year generator has picked 1973, which features some incredible films. I'm gonna name
Whoa, yeah.
I'm gonna name my favorite category at the Oscars of all time. It just narrowly beats out the Best Supporting Actor of 2012 category in my mind. Here we go. Best Actor for the 1973 film year: Marlon Brando, Jack Nicholson. Dude, you can't buzz me in the middle of my bit. Fuck. Marlon
for me.
Brando for Last Tango in Paris, Jack Nicholson for Last Detail, Al Pacino for Serpico, Robert Redford for The Sting, and the winner, Jack Lemmon for Save the Tiger. Now, those are 5 Hall of Famers right there. Now, there's no De Niro in there, there's no Hoffman, no Hackman, but that is a really fucking good year. We're talking about The Way We Were. Paper Moon is a surprisingly good film. We've got American Graffiti. We've got Cries and Whispers, Exorcist, The Sting, Last Tango in Paris. What other movies did you guys see?
Oh my God. Cries and Whispers came out that year?
Yeah.
I didn't see that on my list. Holy shit. Fuck. Can we switch one of our movies to do that?
No.
one?
No.
We're not going through that again.
So Al Pacino was not nominated for Serpico? Is that what you're saying?
He what? He was on the list.
He was.
Yeah.
He was. Oh, okay. Shit.
Anyway, so
Unbelievable.
we're going to tell you which 3 films we pick at the end of this. Oh, Robin Hood. Did you love Robin Hood for sure?
Yes.
So I did.
Robin
Disney's
Hood's great.
Hood.
The Long Goodbye, Robert Altman.
Oh, yeah.
Westworld came out that year.
Westworld, Michael
Westworld?
Crichton's Westworld. Yeah. There were 2 others that we were just chit-chatting about that I can't fucking remember.
Ah, fuck
Anyway.
it. We're going to move on with our
Anyway.
bit segment. Okay, so now we've gotten to our redemption podcast, or was it really that bad? We are talking here about Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Oh my gosh, this is Patrick Swayze, not too long after Dirty Dancing. And he is a cooler who's basically the head bouncer of a bar who gets like paid he gets paid so much money. Holy God, he gets paid, he's like $500 a night cash. In 1989? How much were the beers they were buying?
5,000 up front, 500 a night, plus you pay medical.
Yeah, plus his medical bills, which apparently are expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, so he goes to the middle of a bar in I can't remember now, Missouri, Illinois. I don't have my notes up. They closed on me. Here, I'm going to give you the tagline, all right? Here are the taglines. Hired to tame a rowdy Missouri bar. Have my answer there. A PhD bouncer, Patrick Swayze, romances a doctor, Kelly Lynch, and tames the whole town. Wait, here's another one. Dalton lives like a loner, fights like a professional, and loves like there's no tomorrow. Also, within the first
they
minute,
marketed the shit out of this one.
Within the first minute of this film, somebody kicks a girl in the crotch on a stool and like knocks her over. I mean, it is absurd. Dave, do you want to do the thing here?
Yeah. On that note, let's fucking go for it.
Yeah, I mean,
here's a little bit of the trailer.
Just to give you an idea of what you're in for, this was the trailer that described the movie back in '89.
He may be hard to handle.
I keep talking, you're gonna go off thinking I'm a nice guy.
I know you're not a nice guy.
But he's easy to like.
What's the matter, Dalton? Don't you like women?
The worst I ever had was wonderful.
He's not what you'd expect.
I thought you'd be bigger.
They literally gave away all the best gags in the film.
You can count on. He's the best friend a good time ever had.
Okay, look, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to say he's the best friend a good time ever had. What the fuck?
I'm looking at here's the tagline I just found. In reference to his success in Dirty Dancing, the tagline is, "The dancing is over. Now it gets dirty."
Does it say who wrote that? Because they can drink.
Oh my god, that is so hard.
This has truly one of the best like final death lines of all time. It is one of my favorite villain lines of all time. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil the villain line. Sorry, Dad. Here's one of my favorite villain lines of all time. I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
Oh my god, I know that line. I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Even their office meetings had a fucking knife fight. Literally, they were just like at the bar, like in the office. And they're like, we need to talk about the management that's going on here. And they're like, yeah, I just don't think it's working out between us. And he goes, oh yeah. Boom! Like multiple knives came out in a fucking office fight. He loved to read. He did a lot of Tai Chi. Here's another thing I'll say. They have so many broken glasses in this. Like, I guess everybody's just drinking bottles, right? Nobody's getting the 5 cents back on their deposit in Roadhouse. Also, how many tables do they have? So they're all high top, like, circular tables. And every single night that we saw in this film, at least one table was just decimated in half by somebody getting just completely body slammed on it.
You can only throw someone into a high top table. That is the rule in this movie.
All right. So let's talk about the plot of the movie, I guess. So Patrick Swayze goes to this new bar. He's going to run it his way, which includes being nice to people, I guess. And then it turns out that the town is basically run by a terrorist gangster organization. So he basically has to like be the protector of the entire town. And people wonder what he's in it for. He's also best friends with the band, and the band is fucking awesome. It's the lead singer or guitarist is this blind guy that plays these covers all night.
That's actually awesome. that's the Jeff Healey band.
It's the Jeff Healey band.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd ever heard Jeff Healey band. I listened to them from that point on.
He also does still have his signature Patrick Swayze half mullet, which I do really wonder how the little trickles of hair feel on the back of his neck, just like those little tiny trickles in the back of his neck.
From the look of everyone's hair in that film, fucking rock solid. You could cut paper with it.
I think it feels amazing, Jeff. I think that's
Shout out to Sam Neill, who plays his friend from the old bar, who kind of follows him to the new
Sam Elliott.
Where he's working. Sam Elliott, not Sam Neill. Sam Elliott.
Yeah, he's not a velociraptor.
He's awesome. He also gets a good crock shot in there. You're right. He also gets Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott gets a good crotch shot. In
whole lot of good crotch shots and jeans in this movie.
Seriously, was everybody going fucking commando in this film?
Whole lot of bulging in this movie, you guys. There was a whole lot of Wrangler bulge. Just so you know.
Does not treat the women particularly well, with the exception of the female doctor. But every single woman at any point could just like rip her clothes off and start either dancing or fighting or something like in this movie.
For no adequately explained reason.
Who cares about the plot?
This is what
you guys
I wrote
had fun,
down.
Right?
This is what I wrote down for this movie. I wrote down 5 things during this movie. Tai Chi, monster trucks, philosophy, parentheses, man's search for faith and that kind of shit. That's a quote.
Yeah, that's about right. That's a quote.
Another line, nobody ever wins a fight. That's his philosophy, you guys. And take down by a taxidermy polar bear.
Yes, that. Also, the way he does it, it's like a full Austin Powers where the guy sees the truck coming and goes, no, for like 10 seconds. That bear is falling for minutes. It's falling for so long, and that guy just like
long. He's a ninja philosopher, cooler, loner.
There's also.
I mean, they
there's
took
also
like every cool genre of the '80s, and they were like, "Fuck it, we can set this in white
Yeah,
trash.
we can put them all
we
in.
can do
It's
this.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, we can just
That's exactly
shove
right.
it all together."
All right, I have a few more notes than you.
Okay, go
give it
ahead.
to me.
I
Give
said-
it to me. Wait,
No-
first.
Yeah.
How many checks did you give it, or what's your point system?
Oh, the X's? No, I don't do that anymore. It
come
didn't
on.
make sense.
Damn.
And, this would actually get probably about 8 or 9 because
at least.
this used to be one of my guilty pleasures, and it is. We actually watched this as a family in this house last night, and yeah, there were so many. Like as I mentioned earlier, there's a very famous Family Guy piss take of this. So the Roadhouse lines were flying thick and solid all around the house for the night, but like some of the notes I wrote is okay. Nobody's hair moves a lick in this film.
Interesting note. Good note.
It
Good
could-
note.
Perfect.
Yeah, fucking Hurricane Katrina could be happening, and that hair's still going to stay exactly where it is.
Except for when Sam Elliott walks in after getting
Yeah.
beat up, and
Yes.
Patrick Swayze's like
Right.
trying to push his hair back.
This movie has some of the best dialogue and also some of the worst dialogue within minutes of each other.
What's the difference in this movie? You know what I mean? Like it's all the same.
Well, I'll give you like Sam Elliott. The man literally can deliver anything you give him with style. In the bar I'm working in, there's a sign over the urinal saying, "Don't eat the big white mint." He manages to say this with a completely straight face and like total class. This movie contains one of the most awkward and impractical sex scenes I've seen outside of a comedy.
Yeah, that was an awkward sex.
That
scene.
was an awkward sex. And apparently the role of Doc, Annette Bening, was originally cast. And
Interesting.
Wow.
Kelly Lynch took over, apparently due to a lack of chemistry between like Patrick Swayze and Banning. And I'm like,
What's up with Swayze? You hear this all the time with Swayze's.
I mean, if she was the replacement, like an improvement on the chemistry, I shudder to think what the earlier fucking scenes look like.
Yeah, they were awful. It was also like exactly like trying to be the love scene in Dirty Dancing when Crying is playing. They were like, let's use that other song that sounds like Crying.
I mean,
Yeah.
it has.
No, it was,
yeah. It has some wisdom in it, though.
It's Otis Redding. These arms of
These arms of mine.
It's actually the same song. I
No,
believe they use that in
no.
Dirty Dancing.
No,
as well.
that's what I'm saying. It sounds that song is used in Dirty Dancing, but the love scene is the song called
It's Crying,
Don't You
yeah.
Feel Like Crying?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like the same fucking thing. They tried to do the
Hungry
same
Eyes or whatever.
thing. Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
Also, this is
this-
directed by a guy whose name is Rowdy. It's good.
Rowdy John. No, I saw that too. That's fucking
This film
fantastic.
cements the theory also that any guys turning up riding the back of a pickup truck is not going to end well.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
this
his
is
biggest
awful.
wisdom.
This is like
Yeah.
white trash Godfather shit. Like
Here's
this is just
here's the thing though, like the villain, like the main bodyguard that the bad guy has is this guy that just stands around and looks kind of menacing and awkward at the same time for about an hour of this film. And then all of a sudden, for no reason, the guy sends his girlfriend up to dance, and she probably takes all her fucking clothes off and dances around the stage for no reason whatsoever.
Very strange. Yeah.
She comes down. He's not into that. Cool. We're going to move on from there. So the bad guy decides to pick a fight with all and totally turns into a full fucking ninja.
ninja.
Pretty
I wrote
much.
down ninja too, dude.
Pretty much because we haven't had a fight in 20 minutes. This guy's going to bust out a pool cue and like whip everyone's ass with it. It's what?
No,
I got to be honest though, you guys.
so sad.
I was apprehensive about watching this. I had never seen it before. Somehow in my American uprising.
Yeah.
Uprising.
Uprising. Yeah,
Freudian slip.
That's basically what I've become. No, I'm angry and I'm here. I fucking loved this movie. It
Yeah.
was so entertaining.
I'm ragging on
there
it,
was-
but it is fun.
Oh my god, I had so much fun. I love good bad movies. And this is a really hilarious,
That's what this
entertaining
is, yeah.
bad movie. It did not lose me. I was
Yeah.
never totally lost. Even the bad sex scene, I was like, whatever. And then we just
Yeah.
moved right on, and it was totally.
I want
fucking
to
fine.
know what the oil budget was because Patrick was shiny.
Oh my god,
is
that Tai
shiny.
Chi scene. They were like, get more oil on that man's back.
Yeah. There was one scene in the barn. I think it was Sam Elliott and Patrick Swayze in the barn at the top, and you can see the sunlight streaming in through the open door that looks down. And it's actually quite fucking funny because if you look at the side of their face and then you look at the trees outside, the sun's on the other side of the tree.
Yeah, there were a lot of continuity issues, but we let it go.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's being really picky. Everything else, like, it was really
classic.
just
Of
fun.
course, they had. I know he shot him in the shoulder, but of course, Ben Gazzara is like fucking twice his age. Had to somehow match him in skill at the end of that movie when they were fighting each other. I was like, he just hit that 71-year-old in the face as hard as he could. That guy is dead. I mean, but
he's the one.
It didn't
took him.
matter. I didn't care.
It took him 4 shots with a shotgun to finally die.
What about Emmett?
Yeah, that last shot when he's fine. He doesn't even
goes
have a red face.
airborne.
He looks them
Make
in
it?
the eye.
What about Emmett, the guy that puts him up? Like, a fire starts in the house, and then was he cooking meth? That house
He was
exploded.
totally fine,
like fuck.
and he was totally fine.
Yeah.
He was
Completely
fine, yeah.
covered in his pajamas.
He was wearing safety pajamas and cooking meth,
right.
and something went horribly wrong, and the house
I
exploded.
just love you guys. The fact that, like, they mentioned it, they did. This is why this movie is great. This is the essence of this movie. You find out that Patrick Swayze's character has murdered a man with his bare hands by tearing his throat out. You find that
Ripped
out
his
early
throat
on.
right out. Killed a guy
You
once.
find that
Ripped his
out
throat
early
right
on.
out.
So, and it's like, and then they bring it up again. It's like he can't escape his past. And then he does it. He fucking rips that guy's throat out. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, that's like how he kills. And then the last moment when he's about to kill Ben Gazzara, he puts his hand into like a tiger. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna rip his
Yeah.
throat out.
Yeah, he's got
Oh
like
my
this.
God.
He's got like all 5 fingers going. Like I nearly
Yeah.
jumped out of my chair. I'm like fucking
awesome.
spider.
Patrick,
It
don't
looked
rip
like-
his throat out. Don't do it.
It looked like
I'm
in
gonna-
Dumb and Dumber when Jim Carrey rips the guy's heart straight out. Like it looked
Yeah.
like that.
I'm going to attack you with the hand spider of
Oh,
death.
My God, you guys, it was so fucking funny.
It
And then I
is.
don't know if you noticed this. Anybody catch this? At the very end, the last fucking scene for no reason at all. Patrick is skinny dipping with his girlfriend, Doc.
Yeah,
And there's somebody sitting on the shore. There's somebody
Oh, I didn't
sitting
see
right
that.
there on the
I
shore
didn't
of the
miss that
lake,
shit.
and they dive in naked.
Guys, don't we all want to skinny dip with an audience?
But then it's like, oh, okay, maybe that guy's watching us, so we'll go under the water and bang. I don't think
right,
they thought
yeah.
that through. They
They
have
were
not
like, how do
thought
we
this
end
through.
this movie?
Yeah.
Let's just get them making out naked in a lake. I don't know how to end this movie.
How do we end this movie? Let's drown the main actors.
this
Yeah.
this movie's so funny. You know what the best part about this movie is? Watching it, just you can't watch this movie and not think about how like clever the filmmakers were trying to be. So there's a scene where like a motorcycle is trying to get away, and you see Patrick Swayze running, and you're like, okay, so Patrick Swayze is gonna take this guy out. How's he gonna do it? Oh, I know. He's gonna find him on a foothill where like the shoulder of the road is higher than the actual road itself, and then he's going to tackle the guy so that the motorcycle keeps going forward, and even though the two guys are tackled off. There's also another scene where you could see a guy like lining up a big gun at a car that's coming at him, and he's just waiting for the right moment, and the car just goes fully airborne, and you know they're going to blow that car up in the middle of the sky, and this car gets
Explodes
And
fucking
in
they
the
do
middle
not
of the air,
disappoint.
it is straight out of Die Hard. It is straight out of Die Hard. This car is midair and it gets
You
blown
know
up.
why that happened though? Roadhouse.
Yeah, Jeff, it
It's
sounds
tough
like
to see
you're
this Family Guy.
questioning. Sounds like you're questioning Dalton, which is mistake number one.
Yes,
so you're trying to get your
mistake
throat
number
ripped
one.
out.
Questioning Dalton?
I love how
I'm not
they have the
questioning
little
anything.
fight on the beach. There's a little beach by the lake where they finally throw down the sand. It was very important to the choreography. Them getting
Yes.
thrown around on that sand. And then he drags his body into the lake and he screams, Wesley!
The thing that gets me is that guy had a gun the whole time.
I know. He had.
What was he waiting for?
It's like
If you had a gun in your back pocket, would you wait?
I'm sorry. If I'm a bad guy and I've just blown up someone's house, possibly murdered someone, I get tackled off my bike. No, I'm going to possibly take a couple of punches in the face from a kung fu expert, and not use the gun on my ankle.
Unbelievable. And I also loved how Patrick Swayze, not picking on Patrick, it was wonderful seeing him. In all
Yeah.
sincerity, I love seeing that guy on camera. I miss Patrick Swayze. I liked him as an actor. He's so charming. But all of his kicks, he had the most beautiful point. Anyone who dances,
his
that man
pointing
had
his
the
kicks.
most beautiful pointed toes, and all of his kicks, they looked fucking gorgeous. They
Yes.
didn't look violent, but they looked beautiful. The execution really got me.
right, well, you know
all
what?
of the
Like-
supporting characters were perfectly cast, you guys. How did they find that many fucking redneck people to play these parts? Everyone, Emmett, every guy that had a shotgun, basically in that last scene was fucking. I know those people. I grew up in a small town in the South. I fucking have seen those people around town. Emmett, Bert, Red. What was the guy who owned the auto shop? Red Bert or something?
Yeah, Red.
I mean, Tanker, Dalton, Emmett, Wade. Unbelievable. This script. Who wrote this?
Well, actually, it's funny you should
David
mention
Lee
that.
Henry and Hilary Henkin.
And there is, if you haven't had enough, Roadhouse 2, Last Call.
Oh my God.
And it was pretty much the last thing that guy ever wrote.
Last Call. God, that is right there. He said, I'm going to just make the obvious
Jeff
choice.
is furiously looking this up because he wants more.
Oh yeah, how did I miss this? Also, there was a female writer, which is something to note for this movie. Had a bunch of flops until she finally wrote Wag the Dog for De Niro and Hoffman in 1997. But before that, it's just like 13%, 23%, 24%. Her name's Hilary Henkin.
Wow.
Roadhouse. Guys, Roadhouse, 39%. It says it's either... Basically, it's like, is it so bad it's good? And I guess the answer is yes. I mean, I had a fucking great time. So what is this? But in deep Roadhouse country, there isn't a whiff of romance anywhere. Get the fuck out of here. Who is this? Los Angeles Times, Sheila Benson? Get the fuck out of here. What results instead is a monstrous hybrid, a grotesquely implausible, oversized character. That's the whole point of the movie.
Wait,
I don't understand how they're saying the reason it's bad is the point of the movie. Come on.
Sheila, if you're listening, I think you went into Roadhouse trying to take it seriously, which is...
This is from 2019.
That's your fucking fault. I don't understand what you thought about that. What did you think was going to happen? Patrick Swayze plays a bouncer, philosopher, Tai Chi, martial arts ninja master.
Wait, you know what's funny for me is this doesn't make any... So she said there's basically not a single jot of common sense. For me, the whole reason this is happening is because this guy is being offered so much money. So how would you say no? This guy is a bouncer, is making like almost $200,000 a year. Like, how do you say no to that? All he has to do is, like, that's in Missouri. I mean, he's going to be owning it. Like, I mean, if they were basically like, why are you doing it? And he's like, I do it for fun. Yeah, that would seem like bullshit, but he's very well paid. I mean, a lot of people do worse for more money.
That gets me as well is they're like rock stars. Everybody knows who they are.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I know. I love how they're famous. How are they famous?
Yeah.
How are people? How do just patrons of the bar know about these guys from a different state?
Yeah. Is there like a top 40 cooler chart or something?
Oh, you know that bouncer from a different state who works at a local roadside bar? Whoa.
He doesn't even have a last name. His name is
Pete?
Dalton. That's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
is that fucking Pete? All right, I got it.
That is actually his last name. His first name is James.
Oh shit! There you go. See, I'm learning so much. See,
yeah,
Roadhouse has layers,
when they open
and I didn't know.
Yeah, when they open his medical records, it shows it.
I'm gonna just say it. Sam Elliott made me a little hot under the collar. That man was fucking handsome in 1989. That hair was unbelievable, dude. When was he?
The voice,
he looked
man,
great.
too. It's just...
That scene when he comes out
so
when they're kicking Patrick's ass when he's got the illegal drink delivered. He's like, "How you boys do it?" And he's just like, "What's going on here?" You know? Oh my god, it's just everything I want out of a shitty movie. Do you think Con Air was like, what did Roadhouse do? Do you think like movies like that from the 90s were like, what did Roadhouse do? Yeah. Was that one of the first good, bad action movies?
I mean, Con Air definitely has Don't Touch the Bunny. That's right up there. I told you not to touch the bunny.
Oh my god. I loved it. I didn't think I was going to love it. I was shocked. I laughed so much.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. I was never
It is one of those ones you invite people around and put it on for a laugh.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what the filmmakers intended.
The fighting is great too, dude. The fighting is good.
A lot of those guys did their own stunts too, but they had like 30 odd stuntmen on site as well. And I think the guy who ran him through the fight choreography had like 9 black belts in different styles.
Holy shit! I mean, at some point, in some point
the
in their life, they learned how to fight martial arts.
The stunts were phenomenal. We love that guy. He was awesome.
Do you think that guy, the henchman for Ben Gazzar, who said, "I fuck guys like you in prison," do you think he learned martial arts in prison? Like, where did they learn how to fight like that?
Yeah, it had to be in prison.
Yeah, we're honestly, who was the knife salesman in town? I really can't get over it. Like, they all had very different, very unique, and very sharp knives.
Yeah, that hardware store had like delivery on point.
Yeah. You would Red would have been like, sorry, this is my fault. Like, you would have thought Red would have been like...
Oh my God. Yeah,
right.
there was also like, that town was as big as those establishments. The establishments we saw.
Where do they live, by the way? Did you see? Wait,
Why
I
is
have a
the
question.
why is the
not
auto
a single
parts store
residential
next?
district.
Did you
why
see
is the
a
auto
house?
parts store next to the barn? The bar.
There was the lake. There was
That's
the
it.
Reds, the auto place, the Roadhouse, and
And then there are two mansions, but there wasn't like a street. There was no like suburb, like there were no, like houses with tire swings and backyards.
Jasper.
Yeah.
What state? What is Jasper? What state did it take place
Missouri.
in?
Missouri.
Jasper, Missouri. We're coming for you, Jasper. Shout us out if anybody's listening from Jasper, Missouri. Tell me if there's a suburb or a Craning Farms or a
Just
Cambridge
homes. Give me a
Acres.
house.
Tell me
Oh
if
my
there's a
God. All right.
desert, because there was a lot of
Guys.
desert there.
There's a lot of desert. Guys, this has been fun. Go see Roadhouse. We're just like we're literally trying to milk all the juice out of the lemon here. Just go
Yeah.
see it for yourselves. It's really fucking fun.
I mean, we did.
All
we
the
definitely
bouncers
had
look
fun
like they
watching
work.
this.
All the bouncers look like they work for Chippendales. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. They have a net in front of the band so people don't throw beer bottles at it. It's wild. That's it. That was our week. 1989. What a weird year. Really fucking fun stuff. Ups and downs and lefts and rights all over the place. Roadhouse is a financial success, by the way. So
Yeah. Well, it became a cult
we are going
classic.
to wrap up. And thank you, Family Guy, for always reminding us to just keep an eye on some classics there. All right. We're going to finish up our segment with introducing the three films we're going to be talking about in 1973. Probably films that, if you know anything about 1973, you would not necessarily think we would choose. So we are going to choose The Exorcist. We are going to take another look at that. I have a feeling many of you have seen it, but you know what? Maybe it needs another look. It's been a while, perhaps. We are also going to look at, no, this is really fucking fun, Enter the Dragon. That is right. Bruce fucking Lee. We're going to be talking about Bruce Lee on here. We decided not to talk about Mean Streets or any of the other romance movies that came out this year. We're talking Exorcist. We're talking Enter the Dragon, Little Kung Fu.
This one's for you, Quentin Tarantino.
And we're going to round it out with Was It Really That Bad? With Live and Let Die, Paul McCartney's hit song, and a film that is like, do we miss Sean Connery as James Bond?
It's a film that was a member of a very popular franchise that we kind of shunned.
That's still going on. Somehow it survived these. So we're going to take another look at Live and Let Die. Those are the three films we're talking about. Any final words, my friends?
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. That was
Roadhouse.
fun. That was a good week.
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
All right, we'll see you
I
next
fuck
week.
guys like you in
Vince.
prison.
Come on, dude.
I'm not even
Come
fixing that
on.
plosive.
Sorry, Dad.